I will tell you what the basket is about in a while. I've heard in my life so many times that I have an idealistic point of view of life with a certain disbelief when it's been said. And I'm very determined today to show you and to motivate you that having idealistic beliefs is something great, and you can achieve the life of your dreams if you follow them with determination. I grew up in Bulgaria. I've traveled a little bit up and there. I lived in Italy, in Norway, but always had this huge need to go back home and create a life there. So when I try to explain, in the beginning I tried to explain a lot why I chose to live this is my village, in a small mountain village in Bulgaria, than any other small city around the globe. It was difficult because it was never about choosing one instead of the other. It was about deciding to go back to nature, which I believe is our ultimate source of inspiration, and this is where our roots are. Because I truly believe we humans, we're part of something bigger, and it's not cities or countries, but it's actually the world of nature and everything around us. And this is where we can experience our potential fully. This village that by the time I arrived in it was fully abandoned, once was bursting with life. 900 people used to live there, 150 children, 2 schools. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. I can only imagine how it was. But now it was, like left in despair. I found the idea that these harsh places fully supported life on their own, like people were living there and had everything without having anything that we actually have today. This is how my exploration started. I wanted to understand how this life actually happens, how this life, is possible, because we're very spoiled in what we have now, and this is the truth. So I understood that we're not anymore like these people. I'm not saying we don't have skills. We have a lot of skills. We're very skilled, but just different skills. And by losing this lifestyle of people knowing how to produce food, how to preserve food, how to make clothes, how to build houses, we're losing very important information that one day we might need. For example, like gardening in extreme climate conditions. We're facing climate change. We cannot ignore that. I mean, either it's normal, either it's not. We're not going to have this talk because it's another TED talk, but we're facing climate changes. And we should know how to deal with them. And these people, they knew how to deal with climate without having YouTube tutorials. They just knew nature. They just lived in nature. And if you just think about it today, we're all depending on others. People who work the land, people who produce the vegetables, the fruits, people who take care of the animals, people who clean the manure. This is a huge chain behind the food we put on our table. And I understood that actually to understand how difficult it is, you should get your hands dirty. So I started gardening, I started foraging, and there was so much knowledge behind this. Like the circle of life is amazing. And suddenly you understand that eating tomatoes all year round is quite unnatural, because the tomato has a circle of life of 6 months. From planting a seed in the ground to actually have a ripened tomato, you need 6 months. So it's quite not normal for us to have them all year round. And then you start to read, to understand that growing out of season needs boosting with fertilizers, needs heated greenhouses, needs so much things that are not fine with nature, and they would have and are already having their impact on our health and on the health of the planet. So at the end, you end up feeling like a superhero when you have just, managed to make a salad out of tiny seeds. And you understand that gardeners and farmers are nowadays real-day superheroes, and we really need to admire them and to support them. And a good way to do that is by actually what we do 2-3 times every day, and this is eating. Some of us might eat more or less. I ate 6-7 times these 2 days from anxiety, so I've been a big supporter of your Innsbruck food chains and industry. What I want to say here, while we're laughing, is that with our choices, what we put on our table, we're modeling the world we live in, basically, because eating is really what we do so often, and it cannot have not an impact, it has a huge impact. So we should be really aware of what we're doing there. And I find it so beautiful that in every season, we're about to eat different foods if we follow the seasonal produce. Because okay, we all know about the pumpkins in October because of Halloween, but actually this is because they're in season. This is why they're so popular in these, and this is why people use them to express something, because they were there back in the day. Maybe nowadays when we will, like combine feasts with something that's not of season just because we have it. But back in the day, people were following the natural cycle of life, and this is really beautiful. Nowadays, this will end up in a very diversified eating, which is very healthy. This will end up in eating the best the season has to offer, which is good for us. And by choosing the seasonal and local produce, we will support our local community. You might ask me how this can be done, and you will be right. Farmers markets are my favorite place, to be honest. And I paid some time this morning to visit your local ones in Innsbruck, and you're quite lucky. I filled a basket full of amazing stuff, and I will tell you what we will do with this after. But like the most important thing is that you establish human connections when you go to farmers market. Today I spoke to a beekeeper, a dairy farmer, a fish farmer, a gardener. They told me stories about their life. The beekeeper told me how they struggled this year a lot because of the climate. And normally by this time of the year, they would have been, already having honey production. Now they have to feed their bees with honey in order for them not to die. And this is because the climate is changing. And you can only hear about these stories when you talk to people who deal with them every day. We might hear of them about on the news or online on social media, but these people, they see them, they feel them, and they see how actually nature is being damaged by what's going on around us. So in today's more and more distant, virtual world, being able to go to speak to someone, to establish a natural human connection, is a treasure not to be missed. And I would hope that people here in this room really go and visit these markets and meet the people behind their food. And by choosing them, supporting them. Because we can easily switch to their product range instead of always going to the supermarket and buying the same things. Not to mention the budget-friendly idea behind this, because the seasonal local food is always the cheapest. Because you just ignore the middleman, you ignore the big cost of transporting food from one place to another. I mean, there are so many things, and this is another TED Talk, but really research on that. I would not dive deeper because my time will be over before I talk to you about the culinary competition. So, if you have this great fresh food, wouldn't it make you cook with it? I bet it will. So, with this that I bought from the farmer's market, who wants to make a Sunday breakfast? Who wants to make a jam from rhubarb and strawberries? I need 2 people here. Come on, guys. Don't be shy. Will you come to me? Bravo. Okay. Okay. I need a second one. Enjoy.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice Sunday brunch at home. Okay? I can see someone? Okay, madams first. Thank you to gentlemen. Madam, here you are.
Thank you.
Basically, you just boil with sugar, and you have a topping. Yeah, of course.
I love to cook.
Great then. Who wants to make asparagus and eggs for breakfast tomorrow? Come here. Okay. The next one is green omelette. Who wants to be the next one? Okay. Please come, please. Okay, here you are.
Thank you.
Fresh from Innsbruck Farmers Market.
Thank you.
Green omelette. You have something that I only saw here in Innsbruck, and rucola, and you have eggs, pasture raised, which is important. We should really care about these things, guys. They're very important. Who wants some apples for an apple crumble? Come on, guys. We need another person. Come on. Okay, I will leave them here. Maybe you're shy. But about the baked camembert? I'll do it. You will do it? Okay. Brave lady.
Nobody. I'll take apples.
Here you are. And you have a 5th one. And the last one is camembert from the mountains above Innsbruck. Bravo. What I want to show you here is that there is so much beauty in these acts of exchanging, of going to a market, buying food, talking to the people, sharing with people. The food is what connects us so much. I started cooking for myself so consistently in the mountain, where you have to support yourself. The grocery store is 40 minutes from my house in one direction by car. So basically, you cannot run to the supermarket for every forgotten ingredient from a recipe. It just doesn't work like that. I learned it the hard way. Really, I starved for some time until I realized that this is not how it works. So I stopped using recipes. I started to experiment. I started to use what nature gave me. I learned about mushrooms, about wild plants. I gardened, I failed. I gardened again, I failed again. But, like, at the end of the day, you're capable to support yourself. And I will not exaggerate if I tell you that no fancy kitchen or cooking book or anything you can imagine helped me more and motivated me more to enter into the competition than this life. This is what actually gave me the needed knowledge to be ready, to be adaptable, to be creative, to jump into the unknown without fear. It was not anything the modern world provided me, but actually immersing myself in a place that was so new to me, taught me not to be scared of circumstances. And I want to show you some beauty of nature here. And these are wild cherries. And this here is the dessert that actually won me the game. These are my wild cherries. This is how beauty of nature and everything that surrounded me inspired me to actually recreate it into a dish and to win a game that maybe you think you need to win with, working in a professional kitchen. No, you need to win it with smart mind and inspiration. I believe in human potential and in the human potential of all of us here. And not only to let's say, serve to yourself, but also to do good to others, and to, go forward as a community, as people who understand what every one of us does to support the community, to acknowledge it, to help it, to support it. And maybe believing in ourselves is the first thing to be done. If I haven't believed in myself that I can actually achieve this lifestyle and actually cope with it, what many people told me I cannot do, because what is going to do a lonely woman up in the mountain? Just watch me, I told them. And I learned how to cut wood, I learned how to do so many things, and they didn't make me any less feminine, as you said, Felipe. And so yeah, I wouldn't have won this culinary competition that enabled me to have a word and be heard, which is important because I think these are messages that should be transmitted among people. I wouldn't have been able to transform a 150 years old stone house into a home in the mountain, which was not a hard, not an easy job. And you might say money make a difference. You would be right from a certain point, but this is the result of a lot of work. And I have been up to my ears with mud and dirt and stuff up for 2 years. So basically, it's the choice to do something, and then you find the means to do it. It's not like having the means first and then, wasting the money on it. Meanwhile, I became also the host of the first female travel show in Bulgaria that tries to find tradition, to find traditional foods, to find traditional means, and to preserve them and to show them to the general public, because we need to understand that these things are cultural heritage. I've been to your cultural museum here cultural heritage museum here in Innsbruck, and I saw many, many things that are familiar to me. And it's beautiful that how people were having the same smart ideas at the same time in the world, and I find it very, very inspiring. And now I'm on my next task to create a center that will allow people like you and me to gather and to explore the mountains, the culture, the life in the mountains, and to spread the word about actually how important it is to have these basic knowledges. So if I may end this talk with a challenge to you, try to implement what I've been talking about today in your daily life. Give a chance to farmers market if you haven't yet. Try to see how it will work for you. Go with your friends, go with your family, go with your kids if you have them. Choose the food together, then cook lunch together. Instead of grabbing a pizza, for example. Nothing against pizza, but we should try different things, right? And see how these things will work for you. Next time you crave something, don't run to the supermarket to buy it, or don't call to order it. Open the fridge and try to be inspired by what you already have. Create a nourishing meal for yourself, and I'm sure that you will be proud because you've made it with your hands. And you will have been one step closer to real sustainability, which is really like, avoiding unnecessary things around ourselves when it comes to everything. And because I so much believe that the choices of each one of you matter so much, and all of these choices together are creating the reality that we live in, I really urge you just, to bring mindfulness in every little thing you do. because it will create a beautiful environment and a beautiful world for us and for the ones that are following us. Thank you very much for listening to me today. It was an honor. Thank you. Thank you.